Whoa.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Be the Bright podcast. We're back after an extended hiatus. We didn't realize how long it's been. It's been since February since we recorded an episode. I'm here with Pete McKinney, my co-host for the night, and our good friend Sheldon Thompson of Rodeo Labs fame. He's out in Colorado, and Pete and I are here in Eastern North Carolina. Welcome, gentlemen.
What's up?
Thank you.
We are recording this on Zoom, and we'll be on YouTube and Spotify for all of the podcast outlets, and we'll upload this bad boy for your enjoyment. We wanted to get Sheldon on here again. He's our first recurring star here. So I mean, I think
It's
there's
royalty.
Yeah.
I better make it a good one then.
Yeah. And I wanted to personally thank you all. You're both Ridge Supply sock subscribers, which, little plug there. Every month you get the freshies in the first of the month. Sheldon is like one of the last ones. So he wisely, he pulled the trigger on like the 29th or 30th of the month. So he gets his at the last minute there. But thank you all for that.
It's worth it. Sock drawer is overflowing and it's wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, no joke. The subscription is a problem. Eventually it's like, okay, I got enough. So yeah, but there are people that, there's a couple people that don't even open the packages. They just get them and keep them in the wrapper. And hey,
I can't do that, man. I gotta have them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the problem is, you do laundry and all the socks you always wear just stay at the top.
Yes. Yeah. And I have the same problem because I also take a pair every time they come in, and I shave my legs and I take the picture so I can sell them. And that pair becomes mine. And so I have at least one pair of everything we've ever made. And the reality, that's a big pile of socks.
Yeah.
And
After
at least
6
one
years.
pair of shoes that matches.
And yeah, maybe more than one pair of shoes. But yeah, there's first world problems. All right. So Sheldon, we got you on here because Pete and I are bike pack curious, and Pete just retired from the Marine Corps today after 20 years of service. And we thank you for that.
And I think that deserves a cheers. I mean,
yeah,
I got water.
Yeah.
Cheers for sure.
Cheers. We're planning a big bike packing trip in the spring, and leading up to that, I reached out to you because I know you've done a lot of bike packing stuff, as well as have a lot of camping experience, and are planning an upcoming big race. And so when you gave me some information about gear setup, I was like, man, we got to do a podcast about this. So that's what this is about. And we certainly want to no holds barred. There's no sponsored post in this or whatever. I think one of the beauties of bike packing gear setups that I've seen is there isn't a brand or a company that sells everything. So it's you can't just get a setup, you really have to pick and choose and get things that are available in the backpacking world or bike packing world or bag world or whatever, and piece it together based on your stuff. And that's kind of a cool way to go about it. So that's why we got Sheldon here.
Totally. Yeah. There's so much gear. It's overwhelming. Especially you walk into, an REI or whatever, there's, 40 different stoves. It's how does anyone know what to choose?
Yeah.
I definitely learned over the years from many mistakes and have narrowed down gear. So stoked to help out.
Yeah. I mean, Pete and I, Pete got some bags and got started on building his little cache. And then, I mean, Pete, you can elaborate, I'm sure, but with your years in the Marine Corps too, you probably got gear for days.
I mean, yeah, I have, gear for days because we like to camp in the Marine Corps, as you might say. And, some of it, and Matt and I have discussed it a lot. Some of it is will be useful for bike packing, but some of it is also like, I'm not going to carry, you know, an old waxed cotton shelter hat because that's not going to do me any good. And it weighs like 25 pounds. But so I've acquired a lot of that stuff. And then, you know, with what Matt has talked to you about previously, kind of went through and tried to fill in some gaps, and we're just slowly starting to put it together.
Yeah, I've done a lot of digging around on my own too, with like, you know, bikepacking.com is a good resource, and there's a lot of things that spring off of that.
Always representing
you got the shirt. There you go. And
Yeah.
and there's so much to dig into. If you look at like Tour Divide bikes or some of the other races where they've covered every single one, and there's obviously a difference between, you know, time of year, whether it's a race or not, whether it's self-supported, et cetera. But I thought one of the things that you could help us work through is like what you put in a saddlebag, what you put in a frame bag, what you put in a bar bag, and kind of work our way through the bike on how that works and then what you would use it for. And I preface that with us saying that, no, you're not the authority, but the way that you purposefully decide where to put something, I think has a lot to do with like, what you decide to bring with you. And then, you know, what do you purchase and, or what do you already own and bring with you, et cetera. So
totally. And yeah, I'm definitely not a professional. I'm still learning things every trip I go on. My setup is definitely always changing. And I think that's definitely one of the like rad things about bike packing is you're always learning. It's always changing. And yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about, let's start with the saddlebag. And like what it is you put in the saddlebag. What is it you're bringing in a saddlebag on, say, like a weekend, a 2 or 3 day weekend bike pack and drive?
Okay. Yeah. So a lot of this depends on where I'm going, what I need to bring, you know, weather, all that different stuff like factors into the way I pack my stuff. And so like for this past weekend, you know, we went to New Mexico and I packed all my clothes in my saddlebag. I swapped my bar roll, my bar bag, and my saddlebag. What I carry in there is quite a bit. So, but in my seat bag, I carried rain gear, puffy coat, like a thermal, like long underwear, you know, shorts, and then extra bib and like a merino tech shirt and socks. And that was everything in my bag. So everything in my seat bag was just straight up clothing related. And then I like to layer it as well in order of importance. So like my rain jacket is the first thing that I grab out of my bag. And it was rad because it started raining on us and it was just super easy just to open my bag, grab my rain jacket, close it back up. So that's like, you know, you kind of gotta, the way I do it is definitely in order of importance. So like my sleep stuff that I'm going to sleep in, and, you know, that's obviously the first thing that goes in my bag. And then I just layer it outwards.
That's a good idea. And you don't think about little stuff like that because you just assume you got a room. And the first thing I noticed in trying to like layer stuff out was like, I ran out of room real quick. And especially I'm a little bit bigger too. So like my sleeping bag's got to be a little bit longer, my whatever, you know, like I needed to get this little bit bigger tent just because I'm over 6 foot, you know, that kind of stuff. And like, and everything weighs a certain amount. I spent a lot of time doing research just on weight, just looking at tech specs, you know,
totally
on something. And not because I'm trying to be a weight weenie, but because like, if you just sacrifice a half a pound here or there, you can end up adding another 20 to your setup just in picking the wrong item, you know?
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. Weight is definitely a huge factor in things. And like, especially when it comes to sleeping stuff. I mean, you can get super cheap sleeping bags, but they weigh a ton and they don't pack down worth a damn. And then you know, you go the other end, you know, you got, you know, $500-600 sleeping bag, which is probably not necessary, but yeah, I mean, it's just kind of all over the place.
Yeah, for sure.
So like Sheldon, for you, how do you I mean, I'm sure a lot of it has been through trial and error, like you said earlier, but how do you decide that balance between, do I get the super bougie, like stuff that weighs nothing versus the stuff that weighs a little more, but I know it's going to last and it's going to be a little bit more durable?
Yeah, I tend to go for more durability and stuff like that over weight. Just because like I am throwing it in a bag, it's gonna be on the ground a lot, and like it's a little
Right.
like, especially like when you look at backpacking stuff compared to bike packing is actually a lot tighter than a backpack stuff. So like, I did a lot of backpacking, and a lot of my backpacking stuff actually doesn't transfer over
Mhm.
to bike packing stuff, just because like my sleeping bag is so huge. I can't get it down small enough to where it like fits properly. So I'll spend, a little extra for something that is way more durable over the lightweight stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with that with my sleeping bag. I just got and I'm gonna I'll throw out brands or whatever. I don't care. But I got a big Agnes Sidewinder SL.
Oh, yeah.
And because I do sleep on my side, and I know in the camping that I have done, one of the problems I have is like I will just have the worst night's sleep if I can't get on my side. And like a lot of times I prefer like a quilt vice bag. But and I don't anticipate riding in really bad weather. I mean, maybe wet, but not really cold weather. I just don't anticipate doing that. But if I did, so I got the 35-degree bag. Well, it came in the other day, and I mean, it's huge, dude. It is huge.
It's pretty big.
And I jammed it into, I have an Apodura saddlebag that Pete's letting me use, and it's the 14-liter one, and it's big, but I'd made the mistake of just putting the bag in first. So I put the bag down in the wedge part. Well, that's the part that's the narrowest.
Yeah.
And it's just a simple thing like that, where I was like, well, I need to repack this and put the tent down in the wedge because that's narrow and tight, and then put the bag around it. Just simple things like that. Like, and then I'm like, maybe my bag's just too big. Maybe that's just not a bike packing bag, or maybe I have to move it to the bar and just put it on the bar,
Right.
And literally have it just be like, that's that massive thing that's on the,
Yeah. So here's a pro tip. Pro tip number one.
Okay.
Sleeping bag.
Ding.
And I actually just learned this weekend. So like I said, and it was mind blowing to me that it worked so well. Turn your freaking sleeping bag inside out. It packs down so much smaller and tighter inside out. Mind blowing.
Okay.
There's some tech reasons behind that. Yeah. There's tech reasons behind that. Mainly the sleeping bag outer layer is,
is the
built to keep it's burly. It's built to keep all the heat in and stuff. And so when you're trying to pack it, it just doesn't pack down as well. So you turn it inside out. Like, I mean, it was a noticeable difference in my bar bag whenever I flipped it.
Do you use it? Do you use a sack for your bag, or do you actually just stuff it in your?
Yeah, I just stuff it in. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I would do too.
Sack. Yeah. But my good friend Brandon, who I do pretty much all my bike packing trips with, he has that exact same bag.
Yeah.
And he said it changed the way he sleeps camping. So it's obviously a game changer for side sleepers.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And he's the one that gave me that tip on flipping the bag inside out. And yeah, he carries it in his seat bag as well. And it is a freaking huge bag, but
yeah,
it's definitely one of those things that is probably worth it.
I mean, I feel like I can make concessions in other things that will pay off, but that's yet to be seen. I mean, I really think I could get that bag on a fork by itself, just in a dry bag on the fork mount. Like, it would actually fit in there pretty good. Maybe not. I don't know. But that was another theory I had, was like, it doesn't weigh very much. And I could just basically that could be its spot,
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if I'll always have a fork bag.
Yeah. It's always trial and error, and kind of dialing in your own setup.
So I know you've got some custom bags from Exile,
Yep.
and I sneaky saw this prototype big full top tube bag.
Yeah.
What is that like, and what are you keeping in there?
So the reason we kind of came up with that idea was I was always running two different bags on my top tube. Had my feed bag up front, and then like the little bag back towards the seat post that carried like my repair kit stuff. And that middle section, there was never anything there. And I was like, well, that's useless. Like that's valuable space I need to be using.
Yeah.
So I worked with Matt at Exile, and we came up with this prototype. And it has dividers in it, Velcro dividers, so I can pull them apart or whatever. And in that top tube bag, in the very back section, I have my entire repair kit, tools, tube, like everything I need right there. Super easy to grab if I need it. And then the rest of it is food, just random snacks, things that I want to grab quickly.
Snickers, oatmeal cream
totally.
Pies.
Oh, dude, French fries, slices of pizza, cheeseburgers, you name it, I got it. I'm the king of snacks, man. I love it. Love snacks. Yeah, and then there's two like side like mesh pockets, and I actually use that for like charging stuff. My little charger for my headlight goes in there or whatever, and I just plug stuff in right there. It's great for holding everything.
Are you running an auxiliary battery off of the sine wave, or
I don't use the sine wave anymore.
Okay.
I upgraded to a K-Lite. It's just like super powerful. Lot more light outputs, 1300 lumen output, it's super bright. And then it has like a dual USB charger that runs separate off of it. So,
but you have a battery, is what I'm saying. You do have a battery that is charging up.
Yep, I also carry like a little like a Goal Zero like USB charger as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I can charge while I ride off of my dynamo, and then for things that pull a ton of power like cell phone, I'll charge that off of like my little USB charger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So while we're kind of in that top tube, Sheldon, you mentioned a repair kit. So if you go out on a trip, what kind of things are you carrying for your repair kit in that top tube bag?
So repair kit, and I mean, I'm a bike mechanic, so like my repair kit is obviously like probably way more extreme than it needs to be. But I carry my multi-tool, and I make sure my multi-tool fits every single bolt on my bike. That's huge because like, what's the point of carrying it if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
So with that, chain brake, all that good stuff on it. I carry an extra chunk of chain as well as an extra chain link. A ton of different bolts, not only for the bike, but cleat bolts, as well as one extra cleat. For cabled bikes, extra cable. I carry an extra plug for my dynamo, just in case that breaks or rips off. What else is in there? Chain lube with a little rag. That goes a long ways. I've forgotten chain lube on BikePacking trips before, and it was awful. It just sounded so bad. What else is in there?
I was just having this discussion because where we ride, it's super sandy, and like I can have a freshly clean bike. You go for 5 minutes out in the Croatan, and your drivetrain is like,
yeah, man.
I can't even imagine like multiple days.
Yeah.
Of that.
And it doesn't take much. I mean, the chain lube bottle is like what, like 4 ounces or whatever. It's just super tiny. It doesn't take up much room.
Yeah.
Dynaplug with extra plugs.
What about a hanger? Do you always bring a derailleur hanger?
Not on the Flanimal. That Flanimal derailleur hanger is so beefy that I would snap my derailleur before the hanger. That thing is super beefy. But like for other bikes, like for the Donkey or whatever, totally the extra hanger. Yeah, stuff like that. My tire lever, I have a needle and thread wrapped around it in case I just like destroy a tire and need to sew a tire up.
That's a good tip.
Yeah, So that, and it's a upholstery needle and thread. So bigger trips, I'll carry extra sealant. Weekend stuff, I normally don't, but for like what I'm doing in Arkansas, I'll carry extra sealant for sure.
you have a hand pump, obviously, right?
Yep, I have a hand pump, and then I'll wrap Gorilla Tape around the pump. That way I always have, I mean, that
Yep.
stuff can
Yeah.
so useful for so many things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and extra valve tips for, because probably break one of those off if you're trying to pump a tire too fast or whatever. So I carry those.
Yeah, I've been stranded like, I'm no mechanic. Everyone who knows me knows this, but I'm dangerous enough, like I do know how to like, I've had to like make the bike a single speed and like get out of the woods and stuff. I mean, I think zip ties, tape, all that kind of stuff is huge because when you do need it, the one thing that's not on any kit that I've seen, but I would like to have, like, do you ever have like a Leatherman or anything like that? Because I always feel like you need a pair of pliers or you need a pair of
Totally.
like scissors or something, and you're like out there, there's bugs, destroying your life.
Yeah,
And you're like,
yeah.
if I just had.
I carry a knife with me, just like a basic, pocket
Yeah.
knife. But Wolf Tooth makes a really clever tool that it's like has like little bits on it, and it's basically it's a chain link plier that you can use as pliers. And that
Yeah.
thing is super trick, and it's definitely worth looking into. It has a spot to carry your chain link.
Yeah.
All kinds of different things. It's really cool.
Yeah. It's kind of like you hope you never need it, but
Totally. Yeah.
if you're ever on the side of the road, it's like no money saved on some silly tool. It's like you would pay for it 10 times
Right.
over.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've seen that stuff out there, especially like during bike races, unbound gravel, and like all those things where people are like trying to change their derailleur hangers, but their tool doesn't fit. Like they don't have the tool to take off their derailleur hanger,
Yeah.
and it's like making sure you have a multi-tool that works with everything is so key.
Yeah. I just noticed that I was taking my crank off with my bottom bracket was dirty or whatever, and I've got that really big, it's the Easton, but I have like that, I don't even know what the millimeter is, but I'm assuming it's like an 8 or a 7 or something. And I haven't seen that on a multi-tool. So I was like, maybe I need to even bring an extra one, but I like what you said is like, double check every bolt and make sure that whatever you're bringing is going to turn something,
Yeah.
Cool.
Even like I go as far as like dabbing a little Loctite on all the extra bolts I bring.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little extra step, but again, that stuff goes a long way.
Yeah, for sure. Tell me about the frame bag, and then also like what you've got for hydration.
Yeah, so frame bag, full frame bag, Exile made it. It has 2 compartments. And so I actually carry a water bladder inside the top portion of my frame bag. It's a 2-liter bladder, but I usually keep like a liter and a half of water in it. That way it moves around and I still have room to shove other stuff in there. And then in the bottom portion, I'll carry, so in the bottom, I'll do like my headlamp, my stove and cook set. And then like whatever extra food I have, I'll shove in there. And then up in the top portion where my bladder is, I usually carry like, it's where my water filter will go. Again, more food if I can shove it in there. I got a collapsible bowl that I'll carry, collapsible cup that I'll carry, all that stuff.
What are you doing with the bladder? Is it backwards?
Yeah, so it's backwards. The hose is facing down and back, and then it loops up. There's actually a little hole in the very top portion of my frame bag that the hose can loop through, and so it'll come out and loop up around.
So you're bringing the hose up to the front of the bag, and it's coming out. Okay.
Yeah, and basically because of the way a bike sits or whatever, your bladder is kind of angled downwards, so water
gravity.
So it works out.
Yeah, I know. We're kind of messing around with that because I got the Apodura frame bag, and I got that neat little the little 1.5 liter hydration bag they make that actually fits right in the bottom, and that thing was great. We tried it out the other day. It worked out pretty good.
Yeah, that
He
thing
looked
is
pretty
sweet.
awkward trying to drink out of it though, because he was like down by. It looked like he
I
was
need
he
to
was
adjust
drinking
it
his
too,
bar.
but yeah.
Yeah, man, brilliant for Apodura on coming out with one of those. They're like the only ones that have made an actual
Yeah.
like hydration thing for a bag. But yeah, and like I use the platypus one because of the way it's designed, where it has like kind of that the hose is like on the side and small enough like that it fits in the frame bag. And it took a while to figure out a good bladder that would work in my frame bag.
Yeah, I mean, I cheated. You told me what that was, and I bought it because it was $25, and I was like, "This is a no brainer."
Yeah, they're super cheap, and I mean they work great.
And I mean, I do think too when we're talking about frame bags, there are a lot of them out on the market, if you will. But honestly, like it's hard to fit. Not every bag is going to fit your bike. And so getting one made is actually a wise move if you can. And if you find somebody to do it, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have Moose Packs make one based around that reservoir too. So like when he does sew up where the bladder goes, it'll be for that bladder, which I'm sure is what Matt, they're both named Matt at Exile and Matt at Moose Packs. But I mean, that's kind of what I was going to do with that bag. Like this bag that he did is super rad, and I would use it on the Flanimal, but it doesn't fit on the donkey because of the top tube's totally different and whatever. So I'm building up the donkey. So I'm going to do that. But one thing in my research, which has been limited, but I'm considering doing a dry bag for the forks and for my bar bag. And the reason being that with and how do you say it? Is it Viole straps? Is that how you say it?
Volet.
Okay, yeah, I'm that guy. Yeah. Why are you laughing at me, Pete? Well, come on.
They're
I admitted I don't know.
They're French in Salt Lake.
I'm gonna mess it up now. The Viola straps.
Yeah, violin strap. Yeah.
Got
it.
So I mean, I feel like with those and the way you can basically secure anything, that some of the bags that are out there, especially for like the fork bags, that's all they are anyway.
Totally.
What else would you need in a fork bag, let's say, technical wise, other than a dry bag?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. They just waterproof is the biggest thing. Like you don't want clothes or food or whatever to get soaked, especially on your fork. Like they're going to be hammered with whatever weather is out there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, that's basically all they are is dry bags. And depending on your fork setup, as far as cages or, like those bow tie things that I was telling you about.
Yeah. Which you can't find. Thanks for that, by the way.
Hey man,
you're like, these things are awesome. By the way, they don't
Bike
exist.
industry is rough right now. Let me tell you.
That's true story.
Well, shout out to Widefoot, because I got their little cage mounts, which are pretty slick too. It's hard to tell on the internet when you see a picture or whatever, like how big or burly something is. But what I liked about those is, like, unlike some of the other things on the market, they were not heavy and they weren't that large. And so I think they'll do the same thing that the Problem Solvers version would do, whereas basically just you're going to run your strap around it and it's going to not be there, kind of thing. So
yeah, definitely Widefoot is rad. They deserve all the kudos. It's just like one or two dudes, I think, in Nebraska that are doing it, like in their garage.
Yeah.
And they make
I know that well.
Yeah, man. Like it's so cool to see these small companies like that in the bikepacking world. And they make Nalgene cages, which I think they're the only ones that do. And so I have the Nalgene cages and they're amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's kind of my MO, is to like maybe either make a dry bag, to the specs that I want, or just buy one. Obviously you can pack, if there's certain length, you can just roll them down like you need to, but that's kind of the plan. What do you do in a bar bag? Like it sounds like you'd change your mind sometimes.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I go back and forth, man. It just really depends on what I carry. For the most part, my bar bag is always my sleep kit. My bivy, sleeping bag, pillow, and sleeping pad all go in my bar bag.
Yeah.
And I have so much more room now that, I reverse my sleeping bag. So maybe I'll throw some
I know.
snacks in there eventually. Some
After
bedtime
we, after we stop this, I'm going to go flip that thing inside out right now and
snacks.
step on it and see if I can
Yeah,
get it
man.
small enough.
Mind blowing. Yeah. And it's also pretty lightweight stuff. So it's kind of nice having not a ton of weight on your bars. And also, I ride a pretty small bike. I ride a 54. So like handlebar space is not very big.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah. It's like,
I don't have that problem.
I have crazy wide bars on my bike, for my size, but it's still, my bar bag's only about like this.
Yeah.
So I have to really stuff it down to make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, interesting you brought that up. I ride a 54 also. And that's one of the things I've been thinking about is handlebars. Cause I run a 42, but I'm like, man, like there's no space in here if I run a 42.
Yeah.
So I might need to go wider.
Well, you could use me as like a Sherpa. You could just like pay me a little extra and I could carry what you need because I got room.
I'm gonna just slowly tuck it into your bags and stuff when you're not paying attention.
And what's an extra 5 pounds when you weigh like 290 like I do? It's fine. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the geekery of it, like you're saying, Sheldon, too, and trying to also too, like the coolest thing is there's no rules. It isn't like you have to put something here and you have to put something there. And honestly, it does differ based on mostly, I think, environment of what you're going to ride. Like how fast are you going to ride? What do you really need?
Yep.
Have you found something? I know you're training for and planning to do Arkansas high country here in October. And obviously that's a different kind of bike packing. But when you're looking to do a race, what is it that you're leaving at home?
Man, a lot. My race setup is so completely different than like my weekend bike pack trip setup. I'm taking the least amount of stuff as I can. I don't take a stove. I leave more room for just, gas station foods and stuff like that, whatever I can find. Only the important pieces of clothing that I absolutely need. For Arkansas, I'm carrying probably a little heavier sleep setup than some will, but I know like when I was like asking people that have done the race before, the first thing everyone said to me was it gets really, really cold at night. And so right there, that tells me, okay, I'm like bringing my heavier sleeping bag and like an actual like bivy to sleep in. Cause I just want some good sleep. Like I'm only going to be sleeping a few hours a night. So I want it to count.
Gotta make it count. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no stove. I'll carry a water filter for sure. And then just really pay attention to the food I carry, as far as knowing when my stops are and stuff like that.
Yeah. What about clothes? I mean, you're gonna bring a puffy and all that kind of stuff like you normally would?
Yeah, I'll definitely, because I'll be riding a lot at night. And so I'll definitely have a puffy, raincoat. But as far as clothing goes, I'm going to carry the lightest stuff I have. Merino shirt, long sleeve merino shirt, which I can wash out in the creek or whatever.
Yeah.
Or like in a gas station sink or whatever, and then let dry on my bike. So just super minimal stuff, the smallest things I can. And then probably warmers, like knee warmers and stuff like that. And that's all stuff I'll probably like, if I get super cold, I'll put on and sleep in.
Yeah.
I know some people don't like to will only carry one pair of bibs, but I'm going to have 2 pairs of bibs. But that's about it.
Yeah. How many days is it?
My plan is 7 days. That's kind of my goal. If it takes longer, it takes longer.
Yeah.
If I do it faster, then rad. But I mean, it's 1,073 miles. So I'm looking at like 150 miles a day.
It's a big ask. That is a big ask.
Yeah.
It sounds rad.
Yeah.
I remember dot watching it last year.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool to see.
Yeah. It's It's definitely a rad one to watch. The first time I ever went bikepacking was in the Ozark Mountains. And so like, it's just kind of fun to be able to go back and say my first race is also going to be out that way.
Yeah. Are you going by yourself or are you doing it with other
Yeah.
people?
No, I'll be solo. I know a few people that are doing the race, but as far as like going with anybody, it's definitely by myself.
Now is that the one where they send people off in opposite directions of the loop?
Yeah. So you get to choose your direction. You can go north way or south way.
Okay.
Off of what you want to do. From what I gather, south is the easier way to go, which is the way I'm going for sure. No doubt about it. You get all the big climbing out of the way early, and then there's a 160 some odd mile stretch where there's 0 services, and that is also so that will be done early as well.
Yeah. That's crazy. We're planning a 6-day, it's not a race, but a 6-day ride.
It's always a race.
Yeah, he and I have got a real problem. We half wheel each other like it's nobody's business. So we're gonna try to spend the next like 6 months just sorting that part out, So
yeah, it's gonna take that long.
Hey man, the first one to camp gets the best camp spot.
Yeah, totally.
See,
but I'm looking forward to trying to. I mean, whether it's a race or not, just doing 120 miles a day or whatever it is going to be a lot to bite off. So kudos to you for
on loaded bikes, man. Like,
yeah,
my race setup with food and water is 44 pounds. Like that's a lot.
Yeah.
And that's minimal, so like you throw in, an actual bikepacking rig, like with food and like all the fun stuff that you want to take, it definitely adds up really quick.
Yeah. Yeah. I have no idea how much it's going to weigh, but I have been trying to like test it out as much as possible in my head of like, okay, is this a pound? Is this a pound? Is this a pound? And then of course I know
my plan is to just not weigh it. I just don't want to know.
Yeah. I mean, just know that like, if you have to pick it up and carry it over stuff, you're probably going to need help. Like,
yeah.
That's just a good rule.
Yeah. We had this guy that was a family friend that I had never met before. And he was traveling from Florida to Maine, and he was doing his own bikepacking trip. And he came by the house not unannounced, but just like showed up like, and I got to see his bike and his setup. And then a couple months later, this was all during the COVID time. A couple months later, there was these 2 guys from Canada that were riding down and then all the way over, and they showed up at the shop with like a broken pannier bag and needed help. And in both cases, I was just like shocked at the lack of consideration about equipment, and then also the weight of those rigs. Like, I mean, shockingly heavy. And I think I get it. Like things are expensive and whatever, but like there are so many people that seem to take these trips that are huge trips, and they're just like, I just got a bike and I put the bags on there and I'm going across the country. And I'm always like, I can't even fathom the thought of putting my life on a bike and not, having ridden it before. Cause the guys from Canada, they had literally like, the dude had just bought the bike, put it in a box, flew across the border and started riding. And I was just, I couldn't even fathom it. And we're doing the opposite, we're geeking out about like my Sidewinder SL sleeping bag.
That's probably one of the coolest things about like bikepacking and touring and stuff is anyone can do it.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter who you are. If you've never ridden a bike, like if you've never camped or toured in your entire life, you can get a sleeping bag and a tent from Walmart or whatever and strap it to your bike and just go.
Yeah.
And it's definitely gonna be way heavier, but you're still out there doing it. And I think that's super rad. And there's like a ton of people that I talk to quite a bit that really want to break into bikepacking. They're just like, well, I just don't have the gear. I'm like, throw your stuff into a backpack and just go up into the hills and sleep. Like, that's really all you need to do. Like, figure out if you like it.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of where we're at. That's why I wanted to record this too, is because I hope people will hear it. A lot of what gets covered is like races, bike packing races, and that there's nothing wrong with those, but that's such a different world of that's like the not the extreme, but that's bike packing light and fast. And there's just such a steep learning curve to get to that point, and I don't pretend to have any knowledge of it, but I'm looking to just start with one night at a time.
Right. And
And
I took my first bike packing trip in like 2014 or 15 or whatever. Yeah, somewhere around there. And man, my stuff was so clapped out and falling off my bike. And like I was constantly just adjusting things. And like now, this is my first bike packing race,
yeah,
and like, yeah, some people can just go full send into the race, but most people are super intimidating by just getting out on a weekend trip.
yeah,
Yeah, like one of the things I think Matt and I have talked about recently with this and why we're kind of so stoked on it is it seems like nowadays we get so caught up in this like, okay, I have to have the most aero bike and I want to have all the cool stuff and go as fast as I can. But like just being able to think about this is like, man, like it's an adventure. It takes however long it takes. Let's just go out, have a good time. Like, sometimes I think we tend to forget that when we're riding bikes that it's supposed to be fun and not just
yeah,
let's go slay ourselves all the time.
Absolutely, man. And like, that's one of my favorite things about bike packing. It is slow. It's slow.
Yeah.
You look around a lot more. You see all these crazy things that you don't really pay attention to. Like even like my local bike packing routes, I can ride them in a day, and I have. But when I bike pack them, I notice way more stuff. Like
yeah,
and it's just so rad.
yeah. And the other thing too, and we haven't really touched on it yet, but like the thing about bike packing too that's critical is eating and drinking. And there's that element that seems to be widely personal, and also like the options are endless because you can grab things in stores, you can target a burger joint that might be open, and whatever, that kind of stuff. But then there's also like the ration meals or pre-cooked stuff, or just even gels and water. Like have you ever found yourself like just relying on what you brought? Or
If there's a store en route, stop at the store.
yeah,
100%. Yeah, never skip out on a store, never skip out. Like, oh, I have enough water, refill anyways. Like,
yeah,
grab extra snacks, because like you're gonna want stuff you didn't bring, and that always happens. Like you're gonna bring what you think is good, but then you're gonna walk into that store and see that honey bun sitting on the shelf, and you're like, hell yeah, I'll take 4. Like
Double-decker cream pie.
yeah,
I'm talking about.
Four, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, or like never skip a food truck. Like a lot of these small towns and stuff, they have food trucks outside the stores or whatever, and it's like, yeah, grab a cheeseburger, man, because
Yeah,
like that stuff is so valuable and so good. And
yeah,
who cares? Like even during the race, like I'm gonna stop and have food. Like I'm carrying a lot of food with me, but I am definitely stopping in places and eating real meals.
yeah, for sure. And especially multi-days, you need
Yeah.
you need not just comfort food, but you need the fuel from something other than just carbs, calories
Yeah.
from the bike. But
Yeah, and I mean, you're bike packing, you're pushing around this massively heavy bike, like you're working so much harder, and just treat yourself, have that delicious cheeseburger or whatever. Fill that top 2 bag with French fries, man. That's the way to do
Yeah.
it.
so okay, one other thing, just cleanliness, which I always think about camping is like you go camp and then you come back and for a week you smell like a campfire, and that's okay. But what's the hygiene minimum for on the bike and multi-day stuff? What are you planning?
I carry wipes, biodegradable wipes and stuff like that. They're like gigantic baby wipe basically, or like that guy you met in Sea Otter or whatever. Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, that guy's company. Stuff like that. Basic, toothbrush, all that good stuff. And then Merino Wool is like the best thing ever. That's basically all I bike pack in. I love it. Wash it out in the creek, in the sink, whatever. Keep those things clean. But yeah, just basic hygiene. Wipe yourself down. Like I'm always like, when I get to camp, I'll break out wipes and just clean all the dirt and grime off.
Yeah.
Or if there's a river or a creek or something, freaking jump in.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm not sure. Have we missed anything? Is there anything bike setup wise? What about like 650B versus 700?
I think that's a lot of personal preference, honestly. I'm a big 729 guy. I
Yeah.
have 650s, but I tend to go for my 29s way more.
Yeah.
That's just me. I know people that are 100% the other way. It also depends on where you're going, what you're riding, like
What tire are you running at Arkansas?
I'm running a Gravel King SK Plus 743.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Burly, sharp rocks out there and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
as much protection as I can get is ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Climbing gears, maybe drop that front ring down a size or two.
Yeah.
It's totally worth it. Yeah.
Are you running digital or mechanical?
Yeah, I'll have Axis on my bike.
Okay.
1x12.
Okay.
Yep. So
and a dynamo front
hub, powering the K light. Then it'd be like a 38 tooth chainring.
Are you running lights or anything in the back?
I'll have a red flashy that I can recharge like during the daylight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I'll also have a light on my helmet as well. I have a outbound, what is it? The Hangover, super bright, really lightweight helmet light.
One thing you mentioned that I thought was interesting when we were talking before was about like extra clothing gear. And you were saying how you value, because I was thinking about bike specific stuff. And you were saying like, well, tell me you were talking about Patagucci and what.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Bike specific stuff is great. But for me, especially bike packing, I prefer to go with like more, I guess, like a backpacking style or something like that. Tech shirts, long sleeve shirts like that, just like a looser fit clothing personally. I still wear the cargo bibs though, like so that way I have little extra pockets. Rain jacket. I want a hood on my rain jacket, especially for these massive big rides and stuff. Same with rain pants. And then layering is such an important thing too. Like I want to make sure that my rain jacket can fit over my puffy if it gets that cold. Which with cycling stuff, like it really doesn't layer that well for the most part. Unless you're, carrying 100 different things. And then
what about camp pants? You stop and what are you throwing on once you get out of your cargo bibs?
Usually sweats, just like a pair of sweats or a pair of shorts. Like this past weekend trip, I had long underwear. I did the long underwear with the shorts over it. Look, it was so clean. Let me tell you.
Classy.
Yeah. So that with some Tiva sandals, I was definitely looking super rad at camp. So
I didn't see those pictures on Instagram. I assume that
they're out there, man. You just got to pay attention. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, whatever. I mean,
Pete, are you going to do Crocs?
I'm doing Crocs. I have to.
Yeah.
Well, I did my little geeky research and shoes. I have a thing for shoes.
No.
And
how many pairs are you bringing?
And so, and I haven't got them yet. They're on the way, but Vans actually has a pair of all rubber slip-ons.
I know which ones you're talking
Yeah,
about.
and they were bright orange. So I was like, man, I'm gonna strap these on the back of the saddlebag, and it's gonna be like a safety element, of course, right? Got to have a dual purpose. We'll see. Those things you never know. Sometimes I was thinking just slides or flip flops or whatever too, but I mean, you never know where you're gonna go, and I feel like that's great in the summer, but if it's cold at all or dew in the morning or whatever, you don't want your feet wet all the time too. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
yeah, wet feet can definitely lead you to some bad stuff.
Where do you put your shoes?
French foot, stuff like that. Like you don't want that bike packing.
Where do you put your teepus? Yeah, that's something we never really
They're
covered.
strapped to the front, my bar roll,
Okay.
bar bag. The Apidura bag has like the elastic straps on it.
Yeah.
So I just strap them to that. Same with my rain jacket. Like when I take my rain jacket off, I just, kind of folded it up and strapped it to my seat bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything is like just one thing that's bothering me personally is like everything in the industry is black or dark gray.
Yeah.
That's how the industry rolls.
Yeah. Clothing is all earth tones,
Yeah. And the bags, all the
yeah.
bags are, and for me personally, I'm just like, man, like I'm going to strap all these bags on my bike. I want them to be bright because I want to be safe. If nothing else,
Yeah.
I mean, if I got to have a bag, it might as well be obnoxious. So I'm trying my best to make that
Matt,
happen.
I think this calls for, working on some custom merino wool, bike packing jerseys.
Hey
Yeah.
man, I fully agree with that. There is like an actual legit cycling jersey made in merino wool. Velocio, I think, makes them, but other than that, they're just not really out there.
Yeah.
That's also why I like to use Patagonia stuff so much, just because they always have bright colors.
Yeah.
And and normally it's expensive, but it's cheaper than other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, like
and it lasts forever.
Yeah, for sure. And for Arkansas, they like there's sections where they like want us to wear orange or something like that because it's hunting season.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, how do I find a jersey that I want to wear in orange? And it just wouldn't happen. So yeah.
No, just wear your earth tones through the woods and hunting
it's
season.
so funny.
You'll be fine.
Just like looking at everything from all the manufacturers is just so earth tone. I'm just like, what are you guys doing? Like
it is wild. Like no one in the industry thinks about like actual safety on the bike. It's very weird. Like they'll put something reflective or like whatever. But if you got a loaded down bike with all this crap on it, it's like it's a bunch of area that you could use. You just wait till you see what I'm going to do. I'm going to.
I can't wait to see this thing.
Yeah, it's. Well, I say what I'm going to do. What I think Matt's going to help me do is bring the neon orange to the bag world.
Sheldon, have you ever seen those the bongo trucks in like India and places like that? Yeah, that'll be Matt's bike.
Oh man, I can't wait to see that.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, I might even get one of those big speakers down in the bottom under the down tube water bottle cage. Mm-hmm.
That's where it's at. Yeah, music. My buddy Brandon, who I was talking about, he has a speaker that he carries on the rides and always jamming. So it's great. Music is key. I'll have music on the race as well. I have the most ridiculous playlist for that. So
how are you going to do that? Through your phone or?
Yeah. I'll just run it through my phone. I have headphones. What are they? Active noise canceling headphones where I can dial in road noise and stuff on them.
Yeah.
So I'll use those and they work pretty good. I can hear everything around me. So.
Yeah, I've been through a lot of different headphone setups. I know Pete's using something different too, but I've been using the Jaybird Vista 2, I think.
But I have, yeah. Those are exact ones I have, man. Those are so sick for riding.
Yeah, and they don't fall out. That's always been my problem is I was having them just like I'm riding along and the earphones just like, you know, and by the time I can stop, the cars run over it, and that's happened to both like AirPods that I had, which that's frustrating. So
yeah. Those Jaybirds are definitely sick. They're pricey, but worth it in my opinion. And they last forever, man. You get a lot of time out of them.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So tell us when Arkansas is coming up.
Arkansas starts October 9th.
October 9th.
Yeah,
Okay.
in Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Coming up.
Yeah, so officially a month out. Have a lot of riding still to do, but for
Yeah.
the most part, I feel really, really good. Bike and gear and stuff is 100% dialed, so that's really nice.
That's
Just
awesome.
not have to think about any of that. Yeah, so
Are you driving out?
yeah, I'll drive out, get in a few days. I'll probably head home for a day or two, see some family, and then drive down. It's super close to Kansas City area, so
Yeah.
yeah, and then spend a week on my bike.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so but you'll be able to follow
Sounds
along
cool.
on track leaders and all that stuff, and I'm gonna keep my grams updated with sleep deprived messages. And
Yeah. I look forward to that.
story. It's super rad. We have to post selfies at certain locations, so
Yeah.
some sweet selfie spots. Yeah, I'm really stoked on it.
Do you know how they do that? Is it a spot tracker, or do you know how?
Yeah, so I use a Garmin InReach.
Yeah.
I've had a spot tracker, and the spot is great for being just a tracker. But
Yeah.
the Garmin I use, I can text through.
Mhm.
So, like anyone I want to talk to, I can just send a text like, hey, I'm alive, or I'm at camp, or, things like that, which is super rad. But yeah, it just uses that same setup. You register it online through the track leaders website, and they get it all dialed. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So just really stoked to get out there and tackle this monster. It's pretty gnarly one. The more information I get from people about it and stuff, the more I'm like, wow, I'm taking on a big one. But
yeah. Are you bringing a camera? Just your phone?
Yeah, just my phone.
Okay.
I don't want to mess with taking up, valuable space for a camera.
For sure.
Yeah.
And phones take good pictures anyway. So yeah.
Well, sounds good. Well,
snacks over camera. For sure.
Yeah, for sure. Honey buns over cameras.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't take a camera last weekend, and I do regret that because it was such a rad trip, but I'm sure I'll miss out on having a camera when I'm in Arkansas as well. But
that was something when we went to Silverton a couple of years ago, and because I had never taken, I had a camera for the first time to take pictures. And I remember I told Pete about this recently, where the first day we went, and I thought I was really doing something by like stopping and taking pictures, and I had taken 70 pictures. And I thought like I had really done something. And Steven and Nick had taken like, I think it was 450 shots on the first day alone. And I was like, and it took them an hour or two just to edit through and find out the ones. And just the game, seeing how much photos were taken, where it was insane. And I know you don't do that in a bike packing race. That wasn't what I was going to say, but there are so many memories or whatever you could capture.
Totally.
If you had the time. Pete uses a GoPro a lot, and I have one. I don't take it out as much as I should, but I just think documenting your ride a lot of times is such an art form,
I love, I think I take a camera on every bikepacking trip, and this one, like I forgot it, and I just had to, and I used my phone, and I have tons of awesome pictures, but yeah, I mean, that's just part of it, is taking pictures and all those awesome memories and crazy stuff you see.
Yeah.
For
sure. Well, we appreciate your time, and we'll definitely follow up with you after October.
Sure. See how it goes.
Yeah, it'll either be a victory story or a sad story.
It'll be a story either way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my number one goal is obviously to finish the race and cross and make it happen, but I'm also going to make sure I take care of myself, and if anything happens, like whatever.
Yeah. Listening to, I was telling you, I listened to that rodeo podcast with I believe it's Sam Martin, and his perspective on doing Tour Divide was so awesome. He was just like, I'm just going to ride my bike every day, and like camp out and that's all
Yeah.
I'm going to do. And what's
Yeah,
wrong?
man.
There's nothing scary about that. And that's pretty much what
totally
you're
the
going to do.
Yeah, that's the mindset I'm going into it with, and I'm just keeping the stoke high for sure. Like, you can go to one of these events and not be stoked, and it's not going to go well. So I'm just keeping the stoke super high. I know it's going to be rad. Yeah.
We maybe should have a wager on the amount and the number of honey buns that you're going to acquire and consume. You know,
yeah,
gonna be like
there's going to be a lot.
Like that's more than 2 a day.
Gas station pizza, it's going to crush some of that. Yeah, the route is super sick. Takes you through a lot of small towns and then a few big ones and stuff like that. So
how many people are doing the race? Do you know?
I want to say 50 are signed up for it. Big one. And then they have a short course as well for the first time this year, which is, I think is around 300 and some odd miles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, 50 is good because you don't want to overwhelm little stores with 600 people that are all starving, you know?
Yeah. And I was listening to, if you haven't listened to it, Bikes or Death podcast, it's basically a podcast all about bike packing. Super good. Definitely worth listening to. He has several from the Arkansas high country. Talking about the small stores and stuff like that. And at first no one knew what was going on. And then once they figured out that this race was happening, stores were staying open later and waiting for racers and stuff. So
yeah, that's cool.
Now this year, now that it's actually a known thing, a lot of the stores are going to be stocking up and having extra stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's super rad.
Awesome.
Yeah. And the whole state is on board with it. It's insane just the amount of stuff that comes out from Arkansas alone. Cause Arkansas is super bike friendly, you know,
they're pretty rad on bikes there.
Yeah. So having such a major race there is pretty sick.
Yeah. Well, best of luck to you, man.
If you get to a gas station, Sheldon, and they don't have honey buns, my go-to is always the double-decker fudge round.
Oh, yeah.
It's 600 calories in one package.
See, I'm an oatmeal cream pie guy.
Okay.
And that, because I don't know what it also too, it's just easier for me to eat if I'm bonked or, you know, just don't want to see a gel or something. But
yeah. Just watch the Instagram videos, whatever I eat, if I have an oatmeal, I'm throwing it out to you.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. Should be cool. So really stoked on that.
Give our best to all the folks in Denver, and you guys keep crushing the bike game. I know there's a lot of people out there stoked to be getting their new whips.
Yeah. Yep. And slowly but surely we're churning them out. People are patient, which is rad, so it makes it a little easier. We're doing our best to get them out, that's for sure.
Yeah, man. Well, again, Pete, thank you. Sheldon, thank you. Be the Bright podcast number, who knows, we'll figure out the number.
1067, I think.
That's right.
Yeah.
Season 7. And we'll see you in a few weeks for another one, and Godspeed in Arkansas, my friend.
Yeah.
Good luck, man.
Yeah. I'll be stoked to talk about it. So.
All right, y'all have a good night.
Bye. Later.